just currently ahead of Greeny. Greeny looking to make a move on the inside here, chucks it down to the inside, but that was very tight. The lights will be up any moment. Here they come. Lights are up, engines revving. And away we go. Good start for Bandit, pretty even there. Goes to cut off Forrest McCormack on the run down to T1. And Bandit loses out slightly to Forrest McCormack, who did manage to get the NSX down there early, cuts on the inside and closes the door to make sure the Bandit can't sneak back. In the background you can see Paul Maguire of the Yellow Hat GTR, followed closely by Andrew Shaw. Matt's moving up to P5, doing well there, and Greeny in P6. We've got Anthony moving down to P7, having qualified a little bit earlier, but suffering a little bit there. As we come round Atwood Curve, you can see Forrest McCormack controlling the pace now with a half-second lead, followed closely by Bandit, Magsy and Andrew Shaw. Let's go to Forrest McCormack here. Looks like Red moving up to P6 in the Lexus team, then moving back down to P7, so they're wheel to wheel by the looks of it. Let's go back to Bandit now. McCormack is starting to really break away from the pack now with a 0.7 gap leading, or opening, as Bandit controls P2, but Magsy's right behind him in the Yellow Hat GTR, and these guys are both very capable drivers in the same car, so subject to any setup changes, it's really going to come down to who's getting the bigger toe off who, and driver skill. Coming through last corner, the initial opening lap sees the running order switch to McCormack, Bandit, Magsy, Andrew Shaw, Mats, Anthony, Red running in P7, and a Greeny down in P10, so disastrous start to the race for Greeny. We'll have to see if he can claw it back over the course of the race with his consistency in the NSX. Nasseru moves up to P8, but then back down to P9, so some topping and changing happening. Let's go to them and see actually what's happening back here. So you can actually see a three-way battle here with Greeny, Have You Seen My Dad and Nasseru in the NSXs. Two Takatas and an Epson NSX. Forcing their way around. Greeny looking for any opportunity to sneak through here, but being denied the opportunity by Nasseru and Have You Seen My Dad, who are comfortably running ahead in the NSXs. Looks like Greeny is sitting there, still in the tow, looking to try and keep his nose clean. Let's go on board with Greeny and just see how things look from his point of view. Nasseru here, dead ahead with... sorry, we'll go to Greeny here, sorry. So Have You Seen My Dad from Wales, just currently ahead of Greeny. Greeny looking to make a move on the inside here, chucks it down to the inside, but that was very tight, but does make it work. And just going to grab a quick clip of that. Switches back on the inside and closes the door, and Have You Seen My Dad, and that's allowed Greeny to get through now to hunt down Nasseru. Let's just go to Nasseru here. So Nasseru's now got Greeny on the hunt. You can see Greeny there diving in behind, going to be getting a good slipstream down the start-finish line here. And the time's coming in now, so Greeny slightly slower than Nasseru on that lap, but was dealing with the car in front, so we're not going to put that down to driver skill. That's going to be definitely traffic orientated. And now we're going to see if Greeny can close the gap a little bit between himself and Nasseru. Up in front, let's quickly go up here to check how things are going with these two. Looks like Forrest McCormack has opened up a nice, healthy 1 second gap, but Magsy and Bandit are now battling in the two GTRs for the P2 slot. Let's go back to Greeny quickly. So Greeny going to be sitting in the slipstream here from his fellow NSX driver. We're watching from Nasseru's point of view here, but Greeny should be there we go, appearing in the background very shortly. Looks like a bit of contact between Stepanov and Adrian off camera, but just a small rub by the looks of it. And Greeny here is only half a second behind Nasseru, looking to get the NSX positioned to make a good run. Nasseru going off track there, allowing Greeny to get a little bit closer. Will we see an opportunity here? 122.7 for MCC. That's definitely faster than anyone else at the moment. Let's quickly jump up to Bandit here. So Bandit's got Magsy only 1.67 or 0.167 behind. We may see a potential... Oh, god damn it. We've just seen the move from Greeny. Greeny's managed to get past off camera. I saw a little bit of action between P2 and 3 there and switched over. And of course P2 and 3 switched around when I'm not watching there as well. So Magsy's managed to get through. They're actually wheel to wheel by the looks of it almost. Bandit switching in behind Magsy now as they go too wide into the hairpin. Looking for a switchback from Bandit here in the Clarion as he moves, weaving left to right, trying to find a way around. Magsy going slightly wide there, allows Bandit to make the move on the inside here as they come through the left-hander through Piper, forcing Magsy a little bit wide there actually, so that's caused him a little bit of aggro. But that's put Bandit up to P2, and Andrew Shaw is now through to P3 in the Takata NSX. So Magsy's got a little bit of work to do to claw that back, which is great action here to see on the front of the grid. 5 minutes down, got 34 minutes left to go, and I don't think the action is going to be giving up anytime soon. Now we might see the straight line speed advantage of a GTR versus the NSX, with Magsy looking to try and catch up with Andrew Shaw on the way down the start-finish line here. But yeah, a little bit of diving back and forward here from Magsy, trying to find a way around the NSX. He's definitely got some good pace out of the GTR. Greeny switching with Red as he makes the move here. Magsy goes up to P3 side by side with Andrew Shaw, but the switchback for Andrew works perfectly, and he's now running side by side with the GTR. The GTR probably win a drag race in this situation, so Magsy does get back up to P3, but Andrew's on the inside for the hairpin, although actually doesn't quite get there in time. Let's quickly go back and see what's happening. Actually, let's stay with these two because Greeny's got a little bit of space now between himself and Anthony. And Anthony is 4.7 seconds ahead of Greeny. Greeny's now up to P7 again, which is good. Red is now on P8, but has been overtaken by Greeny. And Andrew Shaw is now looking to try and catch up with Paul Maguire. We're going to go on board here with Andrew Shaw, trying to catch up with Paul Maguire in the Yellow Hat GTR. Coming through last corner, you're going to see now that the NSX in the tow of a GTR can only just about keep up. The GTR starting to walk away slightly there on the straight. 123.789 from Andrew Shaw, 122.936 for Paul Maguire. So you can see the raw pace that Maguire is bringing to the circuit right now is just simply too much for Andrew to keep up with in this particular moment in time, and the GTR starting to really grow that gap ahead as Paul actually looks to be catching up on Ein Bandit, who's running up in P2. So let's quickly go back to Red here in the Lexus, because in the background you can see Nasseru in the Epson NSX starting to close in on Red, and we may yet see some movement here between these two. I'm going to keep an eye on the times at the top left and see if we see any other action happening. You see Anthony suddenly out of nowhere overtaking Mats. I think the timer on this isn't quite as accurate as I'd like it to be. Red going off the track there, allowing Nasseru to get a nose in of the NSX, getting up alongside for a brief moment there. He is getting a little bit closer behind Red, and now it's going to be putting some pressure on the Frenchman in the Lexus. In 2 versus a 25.510 for Nasseru, so he is quicker than Red on the last lap and may yet be able to catch him. He's only 0.3 of a second behind. I'm going to keep an eye on Magsy and Bandit here because there's actually less than a second between those two as well, and I don't want to miss any of the action happening up there. So Nasseru, come on, get a move on. Let's make this move. Get some nose on the inside there, but almost makes a tiny bit of contact, but no actual drama unfolding as a result of that. But you can see Nasseru has definitely got some pace here on the Lexus and is prepared to try and throw it into a corner to try and get this position back. 20 minutes left on the clock. Red is going to be looking to try and defend as much as possible, make the Lexus as wide as he can. But Nasseru is not going to be giving up anytime soon and will be trying to sneak back if he can. Looks like he's opened a slight gap here between Red and Nasseru, but let's go on board with Nasseru and see if he can get through the last couple of corners here and make the move on the Lexus. Slightly different lines being employed here between the two as they come through Hobbs. Red getting a good exit and the NSX having to work a little bit harder here. Coming through last corner now. Who's going to get the good run off? Red going slightly too wide. That allows Nasseru to take advantage of the opportunity and sneaks through. Let's go up to Bandit now. So Bandit has got a yellow hat GTR driven by Paul Maguire, filling up the rearview mirror. And we might see a move between these two coming up shortly. Let's quickly go back to the replay and watch the move here. So you can see Red going on slightly wide on last corner, and Nasseru is quick to take the advantage there. So a nice move from Nasseru there, securing P8. Looks like last lap time for Bandit was a 122.783 and Paul put down a 122.739. So very close time between these two drivers. On this current lap, Iron Bandit is on a green sector 1 and Paul is on a green sector 2. So they're actually both setting personal best times in this lap, which is impressive to see at this stage in the race. They are definitely still getting faster as they go around. Current best lap time I think is a 122.654, which is held by Forrest in P1. They're not quite as quick as the qualifying times, but very much in line with them. And Paul is still sitting here 0.6 of a second behind Bandit, looking to cling on as much as possible. Quinox31, thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. Hey Grumpy, I'm doing very well, thank you. Welcome on board. I was saying thank you for the raid, so hopefully you caught that. But yeah, welcome to the Super GT series here in Assetto Corsa. It's our first Syndicate Motorsport AC League, and we've got some really good racing happening here today. So Paul Maguire in the yellow hat GTR is currently battling for P2 with Bandit in the Clarion, and Paul is not giving up the fight. He is back to within under half a second of Bandit as they come up to the last couple of corners. We might see, from Paul's point of view, with a good exit from last corner and a good toe down the straight, he might be able to take Bandit into the first corner. Slight slip of the rear there, which Paul has caught, but that's going to cost him a little bit of time. Paul taking a slightly shallower line into the final corner. Bandit getting through, maybe slightly quicker there. Bandit diving to the right hand side to avoid giving the slipstream to Paul, who doesn't seem to be interested in it anyway. And Paul just seems to be focusing on his own race here, not looking to take the slipstream for some reason. But their battle continues. Let's quickly throw the other screen up and you can see what's happening further afield. We've got Greedy and Nasseru still in P7 and 8. We've got Red, Have You Seen My Dad, and Binding down in P9, 10 and 11. The Lexuses driven by Binding and Adrian are running in P11 and 12. And the Toyotas are down in P14 and 15s and 16s. So the Toyota definitely seemingly underpowered for this particular race. But that's the spread at the moment. Matt's, interestingly, in the GTR is running in P6. He's usually up on the, well, you know, P5 or above, so he may have a little bit left in the tank in terms of performance. There may also be slight differences in fuel capacity being employed by the drivers, which will be interesting to see how that plays out. Hopefully we don't see a repeat of the previous seasons where some of the drivers have to jump in for a last-minute fuel stop, which cost them dearly in finishing positions. But you can see the battle here between Bandit and Paul Maguire is very much continuing. As they come through last corner, Paul's in a stronger position this time. This time he does take the toe, and Bandit can't do much to throw him off here. Slight improvement from both drivers there, both putting in purple times. But yeah, Paul is being forced to go round again, looking for an opportunity to get past his nemesis Bandit here at the moment. But you can see that the driving is clean. We're not seeing many incidences or contact. Oh, that's... Speak of the devil. He shall appear. But I think Paul's given the position back and Bandit is in P2 still, so no major loss there. I don't think that would have caused too much damage. But yeah, speak of the devil, you get some contact immediately. But Paul is back in P3. He's going to be looking to try and get around the clean way this time. And we'll see if Bandit is going to potentially make a mistake or allow Paul through in any other way possible. It seems that Bandit's getting through the final corner just a hair quicker than Paul is, and that's stopping Paul from being able to catch up. But here we go. back down the start-finish line here. There's a few car lengths between the two of them. And Paul is just not quite getting the run out of the final corner there to make the move on the start-finish line. I think unless Bandit makes a mistake, Paul's going to have a very hard time getting the Yellow Hat GTR round this Clarion in any shape or form without forcing a mistake by putting pressure on Bandit. If he can just make that rearview mirror of the GTR driven by Bandit nothing but yellow GTR, he will be constantly putting some pressure on the P2 driver and hopefully causing a mistake which will allow him to sneak through. Looks like the drivers are now catching up with some of the back markers. This looks like Lamorte in the Toyota, which is just appearing. Looks like Andrew McCormack, our P1 driver, has already got past the traffic. But we've got Bandit and Paul now coming up to the back marker, which may introduce a little bit of extra dynamicism, which I can't say the word of. But actually, Lamorte, very good there, employs blue flag qualities and gets out of the way to allow the two battling P2 and 3 drivers to get through without too much issue. Looks like Paul's lost out slightly on the final corner there, and you can see both drivers trying to keep the toe and shake the toe at the same time, but 122.644 to 122.662, so really consistent times coming out of these two drivers, considering how close they're driving together. But it does look like Bandit seems to be able to get, and by Bandit I mean Ein, get through the last corner just a little bit hair quicker. But looks like Paul's making the move wheel to wheel here, coming into outward curve. Goes around the outside, which doesn't quite stick, just tries to switch back as they come now side by side down the back straight, which is great to see. Who's going to get down to the right-hander here first? Wheel, a little slight banging of the door sills there as they come through that corner there with the hairpin, switching back and forth between P2 and P3. They're using every trick in the book here to try and get a position here, but a little bit of door rubbing's okay if it's gentle like that, but they are really pushing hard here. You can see the brake calipers glowing red. Slight slip up from Bandit there as the car twitches as he tries to maintain control. But now it's the other way around. Paul takes the lead into the last corner, and it's going to be down to Bandit to try and get past Paul on the start-finish line here. Let's go on board with Bandit and just see how quickly he can get this GTR back up to the rear end of Paul Maguire in front. Coming through first corner. I like how they imaginatively they've named the corners. The first one's called first corner and the last one's called last corner. What else would you expect? And Bandit and Maguire are back to it with the battling. We're going to go ahead and go back to the external cameras and just stay with these two. In terms of last lap times, Greeny is currently running in P7. His last lap time was a 123.379, which puts him very consistently in with the P5 down to P7. There's a very good midfield developing there between Anthony, Matt and Greeny in an NSX, GTR and NSX. Meanwhile, up at the front here, I think the battle between Paul Maguire and Bandit here is going to be allowing Forrest McCormack to just continue to walk away with the race until these two can start getting a bit of clear distance between each other. They're going to be battling, defending, and that's not going to be putting down the fastest lap times. Although that being said, they are still putting down 122s. Comparatively, that is a whole second quicker than the midfield. So these two are really pushing hard and not only getting good times out of the cars, but putting pressure on each other all the way around. 122.519 for Forrest McCormack and a 122.828 for Paul Maguire, with Bandit slightly slower at the 123.019. So Paul is now starting to get slightly further ahead. With this gap opening up, he might be able to breathe a slight sigh of relief and relax a little bit, but he can't get complacent yet. Bandit is definitely still pushing hard, and actually looks like Bandit made a slight mistake there, opening the gap a little bit more, so a little bit more breathing space for Paul in the Yellow Hat GTR. But there's still 10 minutes left to go, and Bandit is less than a second away, so plenty of action yet to come from these two. Let's take a quick gander at Mats here, who's got Greeny following closely behind. Mats is currently running in P6 and Greeny's only 1.4 seconds behind. Mats's last lap time was a 1:23.662 and Greeny did a 1:23.562. So only 1/10 quicker, but at this distance it does mean that Greeny might be able to sneak up and steal a position if he can wait for Mats to make a mistake or get a little bit closer and start to put some pressure on the German and cause a mistake to be forced another way. Of course, without contact involved. Through last corner, Mats comes through nice and clean. Greeny taking a slightly more aggressive line there and going a bit more wide on the exit, using the available runoff, which is perfectly fine. 1:23.471 for Mats and a 1:24.136 for Greeny. So Mats is now going quicker than Greeny, and the tables have turned. Let's take a quick look at Andrew Shaw in P4, who has got Anthony in the other Epson NSX, only 1.7 seconds behind. Coming through Atwood Curve, you can see, hopefully, there we go, Anthony appears on the horizon, and in the background we should see Mats a few seconds later, although not actually in camera view just yet. So it looks like Paul now in the yellow hat has opened up a gap. They're overtaking some of the back markers now, so Bradley there in the Toyota has been lapped by the leaders, seemingly having got out of the way without too much drama, which is good. And Paul is coming up to last corner here with a nice healthy gap developing between himself and Bandit. Unfortunately for us, that means less action to report on, but I'm guessing that Paul will be very, very happy to be breathing a sigh of relief there. Looks like Forrest McCormack at this stage in the race has just put down the fastest Sector 3. Let's go to the information screen here. So yeah, purple Sector 3 from Forrest McCormack allows him to bring home the fastest race of the lap, which is a 1:22.145, which is a very impressive time to be putting down at this point in the race, with the tyres having been pretty worn, but the fuel is burning off, and that will mean that the drivers are getting a little bit more nimble, even if their tyres are getting a little bit tireder. So still some improvements in the lap times to come, I think. Further down the grid we can see Greeny, Nasru and Red are still occupying the centre of the midfield. Fastest race of the lap indeed. Yeah, we can see though from MCC or Forrest McCormack's point of view here. Oh, actually, was that? Yeah, looks like Forrest McCormack just overtook one of the back markers who had spun potentially. And now we've got Paul Maguire catching up with Stepanov. And they're having to battle through the traffic now. You can see this is causing Bandit a little bit of a headache here as gap to Maguire opens up to 2.2 seconds. And Stepanov is now in the mix with the other two drivers. Let's go back to Bandit here and just see from his point of view how it looks trying to get past Stepanov. Hopefully Stepanov employs the blue flag rules and gets out of the way. He seems to be staying wide here. Hopefully he does stay out of the way and allows Bandit to get through cleanly. If not, he will be having some words from the stewards, I'm sure. But at the moment he is clear enough ahead that he doesn't need to be getting out of the way just yet. But let's see how things play out as Bandit gets a little bit closer here. There it is, Bandit having to take a slightly evasive manoeuvre there as Stepanov does run wide. But he is through now, so we can get back to chasing down his target, which is P2. Let's go to Andrew Shaw here, who has got Anthony 1.2 seconds behind. I think these guys are the closest apart at the moment. Lap times from Andrew in the region of his best lap, only a half a second off at the moment, so pretty good going considering there's only 5 minutes left on the race. Tyres will be starting to feel the pain. A slightly scruffy exit there on last corner, but equally the person behind him, Anthony, did the same thing. 124.288 to a 123.708. So Anthony's actually getting closer. And Anthony's now into the sub 1 second region, which means that he's going to be getting a nice good toe off of the car in front. And he may yet be able to make a move for P4 before the race is out. Let's go on board with Anthony and just see how quickly things change from his perspective. 0.7 second gap here at the moment. He wants to tuck in and get into the toe as much as he possibly can to catch up with the Brits in the NSX ahead. Really aggressive on the brakes as they come through hairpin. Anthony actually looking to have closed the gap a little bit here. Definitely getting close to the 0.5 second area, although slightly poor exit on the corner there, allowing Andrew to slip away a little bit more. Only 3 minutes and 45 seconds left. Bandit is 2.3 seconds behind Paul up ahead, so we're going to see if they get any closer. I might jump back to them if the opportunity arises. But at the moment I'm interested to see if Anthony here can sneak up on his fellow NSX driver here. Let's see what the lap times look like. So Andrew Shaw puts down a 123.852, Anthony a 123.576. So there's potential movements here. We've also got the, I think this is Stepanov in the NSX ahead. So traffic for the two P4 and 5 drivers to deal with at the moment. Again, hopefully Stepanov gets out of the way and allows these two to come through. Just going to send blue flags in chat. There we go, he yields and lets the two P4 and 5 drivers through. There's Jexy. Jexy does get out of the way, which is good. Allows the battle for these two to continue. Let's go to the external camera again. And coming through Hobbs, we can see that the battle for P4 is very much still alive. 2 minutes on the clock. 0.3 seconds between the two. Coming through the penultimate corner. Coming through last corner now. And Anthony is going to be in full slipstream mode as they make the run down to T1. Very, very close on the lap times here. Traffic impacting that slightly. But these two have definitely got a battle in store for us. Bandit, interestingly, only 1.4 seconds behind Paul. So things could change there soon as well. I'm going to quickly just take a quick gander, although not yet, because look at that. That's action between these two is heating up. Certainly, let's quickly take a quick look at these two. How far apart are they? All right, pretty close. So Andrew and Anthony are battling for P4. It's an epic battle. Bandit's getting awfully close to for Paul, and I've got two battles I need to watch now, which I can't do. I'm gonna jump back to these two because there's 1 minute left on the clock, and Bandit's now sub 1 second. And I know that Bandit can do the last corner quicker as they come through the penultimate. Thankfully, the gap between P4 and 5 is opening, so I can actually stay here comfortably. Hopefully, I don't see a change in position there. We're watching that battle for quite some time. Okay, so last lap is underway, I believe. And Bandit is going to be pushing super hard here. It's his last opportunity. Hopefully, there's no contact between these two, and it's a clean pass if there is a pass to be had. 123.037 for Andrew Shaw for a 123.356 to Anthony. They're still sub 1 second, but that is very close here. Bandit now less than half a second behind Paul. He's really opening the taps now, trying to use everything he's got to get past here. He's going to be in full slipstream mode at the moment as they come up to the hairpin. Let's go on board with Bandit. He's really sniffing at the rear end of Paul now. There's not much in it here. You can see him using pretty aggressive inputs here to try and catch the car, adjusting in the mid-corner, trying to keep the car under control, but equally pushing as hard as possible. And they are literally going to be coming around, battling to the line, I would say. If you can get through the final corner in good order here. They're just coming through Hobbs, which means they've got Mike Knight corner, and this is last corner coming up. Bandit is not going to be able to do it, I don't think. He hasn't got the pace in the car, so he's not going to be able to make it. Let's go back to Shaw, though. Shaw has got to get through last corner. If he makes a mistake here, it's going to be game over because he's going to have Anthony right past him. But no, Anthony does not seem to be able to get it. He's going to be less than half a second behind. Comes in P4, Andrew Shaw, and P5 goes to Anthony. So great racing from those two. Let's go back to Mats, who has got P7. Greeny finished, sorry, Mats P6, Greeny P7. Let's go to Nasseru, who's in P8. He's coming through the penultimate corner now. In the background, you can see Red, fastest driver from the Lexus crew, comes through the final corner here to obtain a well-earned P8 and P9 respectively. Flashing of the headlights here. And that leaves Have You Seen My Dad to take the P10 slot in the NSX. That is an incredible race, Akshik. You are 100% right on that one. So, Binding, I believe this is. Yes, it is. In the Lexus. Comes through to a P11 finish. Adrian in the other Lexus in P12. So good to see the Lexus team, at least two of them, finishing side by side here for the P11 and 12 slots. So that means that, unfortunately, Have You Seen My Dad as the last person on the grid to earn a point. That means that P11 onwards is 0 points. But that also means they're not going to be getting any ballast added to them. So the victory donuts are ensuing. And we have completed round 1 of the league. What a fantastic race. Hopefully that sets the tone for the league to come. And we've got a lot more action like that coming your way. So thank you for all of those who've followed so far. But if you want to see more of this, drop a follow, because it's going to be like this for the whole season, I'm sure.